Evil and Ensenada. Now I know you didn't get to see this match. This was one of my favorite matches on the card. I've seen a lot of the Killer Elite Squad, but this match I won't spoil anything for you, but the match kicked off and I think Evil turned around to Sonata to like high five him to talk to him, and the Killer Elite Squad threw him out of the ring, and they hit the killer bomb on him, and you almost had a quick 3 with 5 seconds to the match, and I totally bought into it. But the storyline of the match was Smith and Archer just beating the shit out of literally everybody. They literally kicked everybody's ass around the ring, from the Young Boys to the ref to Evil and Sonata. I would say if it was a 14-minute match for 12 and a half minutes, it was just Killer Elite Squad dominating, which is, if you're going to drop the title, you definitely had Evil and Sonata as the faces in this match. And if you're going to drop the title, you want the heels that are dropping it to look strong the entire match. And I think they did a great job of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I know those guys had a lot of momentum going into their title shot here. So I think we both predicted the title change. So I don't think it's all too surprising. And, those teams are both very good. We've seen Killer Elite Squad in person, and they've made a good name for themselves over in Japan. So it sounded like the match was very good, and I don't really have any issue with the title change. I think, a lot of people probably saw it coming. But, good on them for, again, putting in a good effort on it. Probably in a tough spot on the card just because they're like right in the middle, between the opening stuff and then the big stuff that comes, on the back end of the show. So, good for those guys for putting in a good performance.
Yeah, and I think it's as you're saying about tough spot on the card. I think that's 1, 2, 3. The last 5 matches. I mean, if you're in the crowd, you have to. I don't know how the crowd was able to stay in it when you have. The next matchup was Goto and Suzuki for the Never title. That match went 18. The IWGP Junior went 21. Tanahashi versus Jay White went 20. Omega Jericho went 35, and Okada went 37. So there's no break in there. There's not a mixed tag match. There's not like back in the day they used to put the Divas matches on. You have to be in there for the long haul, and for New Japan to be able to keep the crowd up the entire way through says a lot. Says a lot about the way they booked the show. But talk to me about Goto and Suzuki, because I did not get a chance. This is the only match that I missed in the entire card.
Well, this one, so it was for the, oh gosh, was it the Never open weight?
Yeah, this is
title.
The Never open weight title. Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of all the championships. So it was that, and it was also hair versus hair. So I think because of those two things, that the match had it seemed to have a lot of heat to it. The crowd was very into it, and there weren't a whole ton of big moves. Suzuki's a little bit long in the tooth, as they say.
He's like 70, Joe. He's not long in the tooth. He's like 100.
Yeah. So, but there were some cool spots. I thought it had a lot. I thought it had a lot of intensity, I guess you could say. Like there was a spot where early on he had him in like a choke, and he kind of had him in he stood on the middle rope. Suzuki, that is, and had Goto in in a choke. It was almost like a hanging choke, and they had to break it up, and then Goto just dropped, and they had the doctor come in the ring and check on him. Like they really sold it pretty huge, and Suzuki controlled a lot of the match early. That he had some Suzuki-gun guys tried to run in and try to get through the crowd and over the rail, and they were being held off, and so there was just a lot of good heat like that, and it went to an intense finish where Goto ended up getting the win. So he won the championship back, and then they shaved Suzuki's head after it was over. So I just thought that, it didn't have a lot of, like I said, a lot of crazy high spots or anything, any dives or anything like that, but there was a good intensity to it and a good heat. It was, it was a little different than some of the other stuff on the card. So I kind of liked it for what it was. Again, it was a match I wasn't expecting a lot out of, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Good. That's good. I think we both predicted Goto to win this one too.
Yeah.
And as far as saying no dives and stuff like that, that's probably that's a perfect spot in the card, because next you had the 4-way for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, champion Marty Scurll versus Hiromu Takahashi, Kushida, and Will Osprey. This match was it's everything you expected. It was 4 guys just kind of going buck wild for 21 minutes. It was a spot where Takahashi was in the middle of the ring, and he had 2 sunset bombs back to back, one on Will Osprey and one on Marty Scurll. Everybody kind of played their part in this match. I think I predicted Marty Scurll to keep it, but Will Osprey wound up. I don't remember the finish offhand. Do you?
He pinned Marty. They were doing some reversals in the ring, and then he ended up hitting the Oz Cutter, I believe, was his finisher. After he went for it a bunch of times, and I think even Skrull hit him with his own finisher. Hit the Oz Cutter on him at one point, and he kicked out. And I think it was a thing where
didn't Kushida hit the package pilot, the cradle driver?
Yes, he did.
Small package driver, and then Osprey. Yeah, okay, that's what it was.
He did at one point, and I think the end was Skrull came in with the umbrella, right, and then knocked out Takahashi and Kushida, and then he went to go after Osprey, and then they kind of just had an exchange, and Osprey hit the cutter and won. So I think that's how the finish went down. The announcers, at least I was listening to the American feed, and they put it over as Osprey kind of. I guess he always has trouble beating Skrull in all the different promotions that they've been in. So they kind of put it over as, he came full circle from when he lost the title and he beat his rival and all that type of stuff. So, but yeah, it was a lot of high spots, a lot of good, a lot of crazy dives and sunset flip power bombs and things like that to the outside. It was, but it was really entertaining. It was really a good match that you'd expect from those 4.
And if you would have asked me to rank the 4 guys I thought were going to win this match, Will Osprey would have been at the bottom. So, yeah. I guess, but now the issue I have is you have 1, 2, 3, 4 titles, 4 title matches so far, and the titles change hands in all 4 of them.
Yeah.
So going into the last stretch, but I guess at the end of the day, when you have every match on the show is for a title, it's going to have to happen. So next up was Hiroshi Tanahashi versus the debuting Sling Blade, who is Jay White back from excursion. You and I think we both had high hopes in this match, and I think we might have even both predicted Jay White to win. Mm-hmm. This match was a little bit deflating. It was kind of a paint by numbers Tanahashi match, which isn't necessarily bad, but I don't think anybody really believed Jay White would win the match. So it didn't have that kind of drama with some of the near falls. The only near fall I think I really bought into was when White hit the Kiwi Crusher on Tanahashi, and then he was going for. It looked like he was setting up for Sister Abigail. I don't know what that finisher is. I don't think I've ever seen him do it as what's his name? Not Sling Blade.
Yeah, Sling Blade.
It is Sling Blade. Are we sure?
Switchblade.
Switchblade. There we go. Sling Blade is Tanahashi's move. That's yeah. So I just never really bought into White winning the match, and I don't think the crowd did either. They were still super hot for Tanahashi the entire way through, but I don't think there was that drama that all the other matches had.
Yeah, and I read a recap of the show after I watched all the matches, and
was it TJ Hawks? Because this sucked.
No, it was not TJ Hawks. I think it was Larry Zonka's review, but he pointed out, which I think correctly, that the Switchblade character for Jay White didn't have a ton of build up really leading into this match, or he didn't have any previous feuds. So this is really like his first time, back, after, coming back with this new gimmick. And, kind of like you alluded to, the crowd really didn't know, I guess, what to think of him, or he hadn't really established himself yet. So there wasn't a whole lot of people buying into the notion that he might win. I think you and I had picked Jay White because we thought they would try to establish his new character and give him a big win to kind of push him, right away. But instead, they went for the route of probably trying to have him put in a really strong effort and try to dominate Tanahashi, but only to end up losing in the end. Maybe they thought that would kind of get him, start building him up more. But it didn't have a whole ton of drama to it, compared to other Tanahashi matches that we've seen in the past, and especially at the Wrestle Kingdom shows.
Yeah, and it wasn't a bad match per se. I would just say it was slightly disappointing because we had our hopes so high, and seeing Jay White, in Ring of Honor, we kind of know what he's capable of, but I don't know if the New Japan crowd does. And I think, whether you or Zonka, you kind of hit right on the head, the nail on the head. It would have been nice to see him in a couple of matches leading up to it, so the crowd can really sink their teeth into his character. Next up, it was the Alpha versus Omega. Kenny Omega, the IWGP US Heavyweight Champion, against the re-debuting Chris Jericho, who, not to knock Chris Jericho right off the bat, because the man's 47 years old, but he kind of looks like a guy that's been drinking beer and touring for the last 6 months. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, well, he doesn't seem to take much time off from the things that he does, right? I mean, he was with WWE for, his last run, I think, was, a year, a little over a year long. And then he does the tours with Fozzy, his band, either in between or even sometimes at the same time. And he finally kind of took a break from WWE. He was touring with his band all summer, and now he jumps into New Japan. He doesn't really seem to take much of a break from the things that, his career, the different careers that he has. So
like binge drinking either? He doesn't seem to take a break from that.
No. Yeah, he's a busy guy, man. He does his podcast like twice a week, and he has a family with a couple of kids, and he does the wrestling, and he's in the band. So it's just he doesn't stop. I barely could find time to go to work and get to the gym a few days a week, and this guy's all over the world doing different things and performing. So
like our friend Lee, a friend of the All Night Long Wrestling podcast, who was actually at Wrestle Kingdom. So I could barely find time to sneeze during the day, and people are just out there going to Japan, Joe.
Yeah, I think as soon as Wrestle Kingdom comes to Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City, I'm sure we'll get tickets. But
Yeah, let me know when that show is coming, Joe. But as far as the match goes, did you ever in your wildest dreams expect this to go 35 minutes?
I didn't think it was going to go 35 minutes. I mean, I know that a lot of Omega's matches, or the big ones, usually go for 30 minutes or longer. I thought maybe this would be like a 20 to 25 minute match. That's figured, because it had the no DQ stipulations, so I figured they would be doing, some weaponry and whatever it was. But I didn't think it was going to go as long as it did. But they both seemed to be fine. I mean, I don't think anybody had any conditioning issues, and including a 46, 47-year-old Chris Jericho, who probably hasn't gone that long in a match in I don't know how long.
Yeah, I didn't. There was nothing to me. Like, even after the match, he didn't look blown up, quote unquote. He looked like a guy that just wrestled the match, but he wasn't huffing and puffing. As far as the actual match goes itself, I mean, it was what it had to be. Omega's probably 15 or so years younger than Jericho, far faster, and in a one-on-one match, Jericho's not going to be able to keep up with Omega pace-wise. However, as far as ring psychology and telling the story, you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody better ever than Chris Jericho. So they played to both guys' strengths perfectly. Omega did his job, kind of bumping for Jericho and selling for him without overselling, which he's been known to do in the past. And I think they towed the line in this match, but I don't think it was an issue. Omega took some brutal bumps. The head first into the chair in the corner like 4 times in a row seemed a little bit unnecessary. I don't know if that was just me.
I guess they were just probably trying to put over some level of brutality with it. I think he hit him a couple of times, and then he really threw him in forcefully, and that's what busted Omega open, right? He was cut after that. But I guess it's kind of like you said, they did things, they played it the right way, in the sense that, not that Jericho has limitations, but he has been around a while, and he can't keep up with a guy who's 33 years old at this stage and in his prime, right? So they did things to add that level of violence to it and kind of build the drama and suspense. And he played the heel role, right, Jericho, really in the whole feud in this match. So
to a T, like probably the best I've ever seen Jericho be a heel.
Yeah, so they did just building that up.
He slapped Red Shoes, and then he slapped his kid, and he put him in the Lion Tamer. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, so they really did things like that to, I guess, just to kind of build that level of heat and drama and play into the finish, right? Because the finish was, so Omega had hit the one-winged angel at one point, but it was near the ropes, and Jericho was able to grab the bottom rope. And then the ending was he hit the one-winged angel on a chair. Right after Jericho had really punished him with the chair by throwing him into the turnbuckle with a chair, and he had the frame of the chair that he kind of was using as a weapon on his neck and his midsection and stuff, and they ended up having the chair play into the finish where Omega ended up using it to his advantage and won the match after 35 or so minutes and retained that title. So, but yeah, it was really entertaining. It was really good. It was built up really well, and I thought they delivered on the hype that they